There's certainly quite a relaxed atmosphere on the streets of Brussels coming to this summit. That's partly because it's a public holiday here, Belgium's national holiday, and that belies what we understand to be some fairly tense behind-the-scenes negotiations here in the last 24 hours. We've, in the last few minutes, started to see the Sherpas. They're the sort of go-ahead people, if you like, who do much of the heavy negotiating at these kind of summits, arriving. They'll be relieved somewhat that about news that Angela Merkel and Nicolas Sarkozy have reached some kind of common ground on saving Greece. We haven't got too many details on that, but it was enough to lift the financial markets, who are all important in all of this. Don't hold your breath for too long, though. Despite some head-banging by the likes of Commissioner Barroso, there is still a lot here to be discussed, namely how much private sector involvement you have. That's the banks to you and I, and maybe, just maybe, this would involve taxing the banks once again.
Yes, this talk of a new tax on banks. Luxembourg Prime Minister Jean-Claude Juncker just said that it's unlikely that this tax would actually be part of a bailout. But if it is, that's not going to go down very well, is it?
It won't go down very well, and it's perhaps ominous that Joseph Ackermann, the head of Deutsche Bank, one of the biggest banks implicated in all of this, very exposed to Greece, will be here at this summit. It'll be interesting to see what he has to say about that. And in any case, Claire, this tax might only raise around about 30 billion euros. Now, to put it in context, we're talking about Greece, a country with nearly 350 billion euros in debt. So that amount might only really tide Greece over until the end of the year. And then what do you do about that? Obviously, banks around the financial centres of Europe will have something to say about that. They've already been taxed as well. And there are other complications here. If they really want a big bang moment, a wow kind of factor, that would involve maybe stumping up around 100 billion euros for Greece in the next few months. And that would involve dipping into the European Financial Stability Pact. That involves all sorts of other headaches, namely leaders going back to their countries, having to renegotiate their constitutions and so on. It gets very, very complicated. And I don't know whether this is ominous, Claire, but normally at these kind of summits we get an approximate time of when these things wrap up, when the leaders might come out and speak. On this one, we simply have at the end of the day. We don't know what time that will be, and that could be very late indeed if these negotiations don't go so well.